Hey guys, it is really important that we remember to count all of our blessings and take stock of what it is that we're thankful for. Now, I admit to beating up on the New 52 a lot in my comic reviews, but I feel like I need to give credit where credit is due. And that is why I want to talk to you about Aquaman in number 1. Our comic opens in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Boy, that sure narrows it down. We see a handful of anglerfish men discovering something beyond their familiar inky blackness, and they venture forth to the surface. I guess it's a good thing that they aren't deterred by the excessive light or the lighter water pressure that they aren't adapted to be in. We then cut to Boston, where some bank robbers are making off with an armored car, smashing their way through traffic to make their escape. But suddenly, something leaps a tall building in a single bound and stops them cold. And of course, who do we remember for leaping tall buildings in a single bound? That's right, none other than Aquaman. He was my second guess. Yes, the completely helpless and useless Aquaman shows up to take them down. The cops are baffled by how he's somewhere outside of the ocean, and the robbers just laugh and proceed to run him over since, remember, Aquaman is completely helpless and useless. And what happens? They drive toward him at full speed, he whips out his trident, and he flips the truck over his head and upside down. I remind you, that awesome scene from The Dark Knight where Batman actually flips over a semi-truck? He was only able to do that thanks to a motorcycle that cost him thousands of dollars. And Aquaman does the exact same thing with nothing but a pointy stick. Point goes to the King of Atlantis. One of the robbers ignores Aquaman's orders to put their guns down, and Aquaman, weakling that he is, just takes every bullet thrown at him without even flinching. Well, okay, he does react to one bullet that bounces off of his skull. Oh yeah, Aquaman is frickin' bulletproof. And he proceeds to throw the guy at the police. Since this is the only robber we see him actually deal with, I think it's pretty safe to assume that all the others have very wisely laid down their arms. Aquaman, what are you doing here? I heard the sirens from the harbor. You need a glass of water or something? He doesn't, but you're gonna need one after he makes you eat those words. So Aquaman super hops away, off to confuse more people with how awesome he is. I can't believe you just got upstaged by Aquaman! Yeah, imagine that. You just got upstaged by one of the founding members of the Justice League. What a shock! We later find Aquaman at a seafood restaurant, of all places, but because his most well-known superpower is his ability to talk to sea life, everyone is surprised to see him in a place like this. And what does he ask from the waitress taking his order? I'll have the fish and chips. What? Oh, you're out of the fish and chips? Never mind then. Do you have any orca? Naturally, his request for fish and chips forces a couple of stereotypical nerdwads to come out of the woodwork, and they question why he eats what he talks to. He explains that he doesn't talk to fish, only that he knows how to push them into helping him whenever he needs it. One of them proceeds to interview him for his blog, much to Aquaman's chagrin. Hey, how does someone like Aquaman pay for anything if you don't have a day job? Dude, the guy is covered in golden scale mail. Even if you're not aware of the fact that this guy is the king of one of the greatest civilizations on the planet, I think it's pretty safe to assume he's got a day job. He goes on asking more questions, giving us some exposition about Aquaman and his father, how the Queen of Atlantis was his mother, and how apparently the existence of Atlantis is still just a myth. Yeah, Aquaman's apparently been playing superhero for so long that everyone knows who he is, but no one ever tried looking further into where he actually came from. Aquaman is, naturally, getting more and more annoyed by this guy, and instead of taking a hint and leaving, he asks one last question. How does it feel to really be, Aquaman? I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the jokes and seen all the skits from Saturday Night Live on YouTube, so how does it feel to be a punchline? How does it feel to be a laughingstock? How does it feel to be nobody's favorite superhero? Was nobody scrambling to get pics and videos of this guy flipping that truck over earlier onto the internet? How is anybody still laughing at him after that? Aquaman leaves before he can chop this guy into chum, and he tips his waitress with a couple of doubloons that are apparently valuable enough to put her kids through college. Good little life lesson from Aquaman here. Just because you might be having a bad day, that's no reason why you can't make someone else's day a little bit brighter. We cut to Amnesty Bay later that night, where Aquaman is reminiscing about his father teaching him about responsibility. But then his wife Mira shows up, and this naturally makes the waves around her start to crash like you see in so many love scenes made of stock footage.
Come to bed?
I've made my decision, Mira.
And?
I'm coming to bed and I'm never leaving. Kind of a no-brainer, really. Actually, he makes the decision to live a new life on the surface, since he never really felt like he belonged with the Atlanteans. Mira agrees to live on the surface with him, and they seal the deal with a passionate kiss and a nice phallic lighthouse in the background. Nice. We then go further out to sea, where a couple of fishermen aren't having the busiest of work days. One of them gets a bite, and said bite quickly makes a meal out of him.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
And the comic ends on a cliffhanger as one of the angler monsters rises out of the bloody water.
There's food up here.
And so that was Aquaman #1, and it is absolutely great. I just love how DC Comics is completely aware of how laughable this guy is in the eyes of popular consciousness, and they're doing everything in their power to show off how badass he really is. He's super strong, he's bulletproof, he can fly, for all intents and purposes, he's got a hot redhead by his side, who, by the way, knows a thing or two about kicking ass herself. He doesn't feel like he really belongs either on the surface or in Atlantis, and everyone loves a loner, right? And despite the crap he has to put up with, that doesn't stop him from being a stand-up guy, which is what the best superheroes are supposed to do. I also like how, in spite of it not really being a reboot like most of the #1s in the New 52, it still feels fresh enough for new readers to not be completely lost when reading it for the first time. All in all, this is a really good introduction to people who really have no idea who Aquaman is. I suggest that you check it out for yourselves, and get ready to be impressed. See you later.
Aquaman, swift and powerful monarch of the oceans, with ability to summon and command all creatures of the deep. Aquaman, who with his teenage ally, Aqualad, guards and defends all that lives in the seas against the forces of evil. Aquaman, king of the seven seas.
Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, watch more.